Welcome to the Voices of the Goddess podcast. We believe that there is a goddess inside each and every one of us. When we use our voice to share that goddess, we support and uplift each other. Join us each week as we interview women to receive the message of their goddess within. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to be the goddesses they were meant to be. I'm your co-host, Julietta, also known as the Magical PT. I am a physical therapist in private practice down here in sunny Fort Lauderdale, although I was raised in Wisconsin, so I am a Midwestern girl. And in addition to healing people's body, mind, and spirit, I'm also an artist, and I create jewelry from the gifts that Mother Nature gave us. Oh, Allison is wearing one of my pieces today. And so I use crystals and gemstones to create beautiful jewelry, and I also paint spiritual artwork to heal your eyes as you look at it. And in addition to doing this podcast, also an author and a whole lot of other things that we could talk about for an hour, and I'm not going to. But Allison, introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, everybody. My name is Allison Mancini, and I am also here living in South Florida, just outside of Fort Lauderdale. Originally a Michigander for a very long time, but I've actually been in Florida longer than I was in Michigan now, which is a little crazy to think of it that way. I know, it's a little weird. I have married to my husband for 28 years, and we have 2 adult children, a son who is 25, engaged, actually going to look at wedding venues next week. And I know, exciting. And my daughter is 22 and graduating from college this year. So we're very proud of her. And I am a human resources director for a company called The Gold Digger Girl, which is basically a company that helps women show up authentically on social media. And I am a functional nutritionist. So my passion really is about helping women to be their best, not only from what they're doing in their business lives and in their family and their friends and career, but also inside, because I know firsthand how if you do not take care of yourself, it is very difficult to do all the amazing things all the women we know do. So that is my story.
And you're sticking to it.
And I'm sticking to it. I wasn't going to say that, but there you go.
So we have a new sponsor. And she has created these most amazing Voices of the Goddess mugs. Do you want to tell us about aliciaboatengdesigns?
I'm so excited. Our sponsor this month is aliciaboatengdesigns. She is a celebrity cup designer. She has been seen on, to name a few, The Today Show with Hoda and Jenna, Reader's Digest, Forbes, Food Network, ABC, Fox, MSN, Your California Life, Gift Shop Magazine, Sheen Magazine, and Lifestyle Magazine. And we are honored now to actually have her make us a mug for Voices of the Goddess. And Alicia is a mother of 4, wife, and passionate coffee lover. Alicia is a former wedding planner and has always been an exceptional creative individual. She turned an ordinary coffee cup into an extraordinary, dazzling, and empowering vessel that speaks volumes to women of all colors all over the world. And we are so honored that she made a mug for Voices of the Goddess. We can barely contain ourselves.
I'm like, so I was drinking coffee out of mine earlier today, but now I'm drinking, Allison, you'll be so proud. I have moringa and nettle leaf tea in my mug. How's that? Am I doing good?
You're doing good. And I forgot to grab you my Brain Boost tea to show you. I'll show it to you at the next show. And I am drinking green tea and my Brain Boost tea. So
everything tastes better out of these mugs. So incredible. And just so you know, if you want to get a mug of your own, they will eventually be for sale on our website. But for now, if you're not in our Facebook group, Circle of the Goddesses, get in there, because we are going to be doing some challenges in there with opportunities to actually win a mug. So, yeah.
And Alicia, and listen, aside from the fact that we have a mug, I actually bought some of her mugs for holiday gifts this past year. You have to check out her website. Oh my God. Like you could, it's like.
These are mugs like no other mugs.
Yeah. You can't even describe them. And they're like, she's making Mother's Day mugs. She has Easter, Passover. She has different country mugs. She has holidays. She has all these amazing women. She has Ruth, what's her name? I'm not a political person, so I never know these people. But she has a mug for her. She has a mug. I mean, it's incredible. So you have to go check out her mugs. But today we are going to chat quickly about breath work and what is that and why should our audience do it?
So, well, we all got to breathe.
Yeah, well, that's one thing.
I don't specifically do breath work in my practice, but one thing that I see a lot is that people they're chest breathers. They breathe into their chest. And really when you're breathing, sometimes I think this came from the 80s where we all were sucking in our guts all the time. And
from our DoorDash jeans? You mean from our DoorDash jeans?
When you breathe, your belly, because your diaphragm drops into your abdomen and your belly needs to go in and out as you breathe. You can't just be breathing up here. I mean, it sets up your nervous system into sympathetic mode. You're like in fight or flight mode all the time, and it's not good for you. But in addition to making sure you're belly breathing, breath work can be one of the most healing techniques out there. What do you do for breath work, Allison?
So actually what I started doing every morning, because I'm a very morning routine kind of person. That's just how I roll. And so I kind of have my little order of things. And once I get downstairs and after I fed the dog, I drink a big thing of water. Like I drink a lot of water first thing. And then I literally stop myself and I take 5 deep breaths in and I do it to the count of 5. I hold it at the top and let it out for 5. Because I realized years ago that when I'm really busy or I'm under stress or even when I'm excited, like when I have things going on, I didn't realize how much I actually hold my breath. Like it got to the point where I can remember years ago, Nick would look at me and go, "Can you take a breath?" Like, and he was right. I would literally hold my breath. And so not only do I do the breath work because I feel like it's a great way to start out my day, it's actually really good for your brain to get that like really good oxygen in and start my day out right. It's good for your lungs. It's good for my nervous system. And it's funny because Nick and I'm glad you asked this question because Nick and I kind of laugh because my mom has this habit of sighing, but when she sighs, she says ho hum. So she'll just walk, she lived with us for a year. She would just walk around the house and go, ho hum, like that. And we were, after like 2 months, my husband and I are like, she has to stop doing it. It was like getting under our skin. Well, so she moved out. She now lives in Texas. Do you know my husband now ho-hums all the time?
Oh, my.
And I looked at him and I said, why are you doing that? And he said, actually, he's like, I get why your mom did it all the time. He goes, it feels really good. Because when you're doing that, ho-hum, you take this big breath in and you let it out. And it's just for him. And so he'll walk around the house.
That's hilarious.
So that's how we practice breath work in the Mancini household. I do deep breathing in the morning. He ho-hums as he walks around the house. So there you go.
But I love that you bring up that. I think they call that the box technique, right?
It is the box technique where you go up, hold it.
Breathe in for 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 5, hold for 5.
Yep. And you just like 5. Imagine you're making a box. Yep.
Yeah. So love that technique. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was
fun.
Bring
on our guest.
We absolutely need to bring on our guest. Hello,
Jenny. Hi, Alison. Hi, Giletta. I was like laughing away when I heard about your ho-hum breathing. That's something new I learned today. And I don't know whether I can shake that out of my head for better or for worse.
I'm so sorry.
I know about the box, breathing 5, but I've never heard about the ho-hum thing. So I guess it's unique to your household.
Yeah, it's not something official. Believe me, it's something my mom just did. So my husband decided it was beneficial. So,
let's patent it. We'll make it a whole movement.
Ho-hum breathing.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for joining us. Please take a couple minutes and introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes. So unlike Julieta and Alison, I don't live in the States. I live all the way at the other end of the globe. I'm in Singapore, so that's in Asia, and it's 9 p.m. my time as opposed to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. So we met on this platform called Podmatch, and that's this platform that matches hosts, podcast hosts, and also podcast guests. So I don't have a show myself, but I'm enjoying, just appearing as a guest on many shows. So a bit about myself: I'm a lawyer, I'm a life coach, and I'm a mother of 3. So Alison, I'm really impressed that you are a mother of adult children. That's like, wow, you don't look like it. My oldest is a teenager, 17, and I've got 2 beautiful girls, 12 and 10. So I went into life coaching because I believe that it's my passion pursuit from the more personal, heartfelt perspective. I went into lawyering because it seems to be the right thing to do, and I still enjoy parts of it. It's very intellectually stimulated. So for the longest time, I was thinking, okay, there's got to be more to life than this. Although things were going well in the career and the family, and because I'm a Christian, after prayer and after a lot of discussion with my husband, I felt that this is something I have to do. And if I don't do it, I'll regret it. So I trained as a coach for over a year in 2019. I got credentialed by a global organization, International Coaching Federation, because being a lawyer, we have to jump through a lot of hoops to come out and call yourself a lawyer. So when I did research on what does it take to become a life coach, because I didn't want to become an executive or a corporate career coach, because then that's like going back to the corporate world. I really want to impact one person at a time. Then I found out that, there's so many coaching courses on Facebook that goes for $14.99 and then you can call yourself a coach. I'm like, no, this is not what I want. So that's why I put myself through that 1-year training. It's an accredited course by ICF, got myself credentialed. So yes, I did jump through quite a lot of hoops, but we have a strong code of ethics and core competencies that we adhere to, because you're dealing with someone's life when you're coaching, and you don't want to be doing the wrong thing. Everyone has their own style, but I really want to be authentic and yet have this framework. So Alison, Julieta, if I'm your coach, I'm not your friend. As much as you like me and I like you, I'm not your friend. I will say things that you might not like, but it's always for you to move forward and to get better. Mm-hmm. And I'll just also differentiate between counseling and coaching before we start diving into the interview, because when I first started out here in Asia, I'm not sure whether I've spoken to friends in the US as well. They do get confused about counseling and coaching. So when I was trying to pitch counseling and coaching to potential clients, the first response that they have is, Jenny, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me, don't. So that's coaching is not about getting you healed from an emotional pain or trauma. That's definitely counseling, where you have to go and understand the deep-rooted cause of your emotional hurts. Coaching is more of understanding where you are today and how to move you forward in your goals, whether it's personal or professional goals. So that being said, a counselor, therapist, and a coach can work together with you at the same time, because both professions just want you to get better. And I'll pause.
Beautiful. I mean, 2 things. I love that you clarified the difference for our audience, because sometimes there is confusion around that. And also the fact that you talked about, doing a serious certification, because we all know out there in the world right now, everybody and their cousin is calling themselves a coach. And I think it's really important that, when people, Alison and I highly recommend, we both work with coaches and we highly recommend doing so, but you need to do, some research in selecting your coach and make sure that they are well trained, and not just Joe Schmo who paid $14.99 online to get a little title that said that they were coach. So great information for our audience. We're ready to dive into our questions, Jenny.
Sure.
So can you please share with us, what is one book that you wish every goddess would read and why?
Okay, yes, I forgot I'm among goddesses here. So yes. What an honor, right? Because I'm an introvert, I found a lot of useful advice from Susan Cain in her book called Quiet, The Power of Introverts in This Noisy World. She really explained from a scientific point of view, what is introversion, and also gave very practical tips on how to accept yourself as an introvert. So for the longest time, I thought there was something wrong with me because I was shy and I'm introverted. So shyness is something you can overcome, which I believe I have. However, introversion is very much a part of you. You cannot shake it off. And how she explains this is how we get stimulated, where we draw our energy from. So for introverts, we draw our energy from within. So even before this recording started, Alison was saying that she needs to get time to energize herself. I can totally relate to what she means. So you can have extroverted or more outgoing moments. However, there'll come a time when you feel really tired and you need to go within yourself and just recharge. Whereas for extrovert, they really draw their energy from people. I have a lot of extroverted friends who can just go on and on with more friends and until it's very late. And I'm thinking, okay, I can't do this anymore. So if I don't understand that, I would feel that, oh, there's something wrong with me, because as much as I love my extroverted friends, I don't want to spend time with them for more than 3 hours at one go. But then they understand now what I mean, and it's just about understanding, and we are all human, so it doesn't mean that introverts fall in box A and extroverts fall in box B, and then that's it. It's like a spectrum, and it depends on which phase of life you're in and what circumstances. So you may move up and down the spectrum, but there's always your natural inclination. So if you're an introvert, for work or for moments like this, I will be talking a lot, so you will draw your energy to present yourself in a certain way, because the purpose that you connect with is so strong that you can't keep it quiet anymore.
Yeah, I love that, because we were talking about that before we came on live, and I didn't really understand that, because I knew I was quote unquote shy, but when I have to be, when I'm in a room full of people or I'm on something like this, I can completely be extroverted. Like my husband always says, he's like, you could make friends with the wall, Allison, like you'll talk to anybody. But that's not always true. And it's just like you said, it's in the right circumstances. And when I need to be, I can be that way. I don't really like to stand out. I don't like to be the focus of stuff. So like we were talking about, Juliet and I, we do many interviews back to back. By the time we're done with our 4 interviews, I'm like wiped. Like I need quiet. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to, like, I'm done. But I actually, if you could see my bookcase behind me, you can't because I have my green screen up, but I have a very large bookcase full of books. That book is on my bookcase. I just have not had a chance to read it yet.
You should. It's a valuable resource.
I know.
It can be a bit technical in the beginning when she provides data and things like that, but it makes you really understand. And of course, she goes on to say that, we're all different. And that's what I really like. It's not to say that when you're an introvert, you're supposed to act in a different way, because we're all unique. It's just that for you to recognize it, so, so you can understand why in certain social settings you behave this way, why with some people you shy away, and why with some people you're more, inclined to have conversations with.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge distinct, because people all the time are like, there's no way you're an introvert. There's no way you're an introvert. And absolutely 100% I am. But it's understanding that about what really defines whether you're an introvert or an extrovert is where you draw your energy from. And so we've got 3 introverts here on the show.
Different types, right? We're all very different. And then within the introversion term itself, there are many types of introverts. There are 4 main types. So there's the social introvert, the thinking introvert, the creative introvert, and the introvert who's anxious. So the anxious introvert will probably need help, either from a coach or a counselor to get better. So I recently did another episode, and she says, I'm a social introvert. I really get energized in the one-to-one relationships. But that being said, there's also a time limit to it. You can't keep going on. So again, that's not to box you up and try and think, which type of introversion I am, is to just emphasize the fact that we're all different. So what if you don't fall into these categories? Just respect yourself, understand your needs. And if you have to leave a party, then just leave. Don't feel guilty about it.
I love that. I love that. Respect yourself. Dang
Beautiful.
it.
And with that,
Right.
that's a perfect segue into question number 2 is, what is your favorite self-care practice and how does that support you?
Yeah, but when you guys were talking about the lovely mug and the drink and all that, I am a coffee drinker. So yes, it's not very healthy, but I need to begin my morning with a nice hot cup of coffee. I make it myself, nothing special, but it's just that time, that quiet time where you hold that hot coffee mug and it's quiet because the kids have left for school, husband has gone for work, and you're like yourself. You just have that coffee, and then things seem to start off on a right note, right? And of course, during that time, I also have my quiet time and have a prayer with God. And I end my day by writing in my journal. No matter how busy I am, I do write. It's you could say it's a gratitude journal. So although at times I feel like I'm complaining, so I still make it a point to see what I'm grateful for that day. I'm only human, right? Coach or no coach, you still have your bad days. But it's just reconnecting with how the day went and reflecting. If I really struggle with writing what I'm grateful for, I will say what I learned from that difficult day. And after when I write that, I realized that, hey, my daughter came up to give me a hug, when she knew that I had a very bad day. So that is definitely something to be grateful for. So it comes up. I may start off being grumpy, but I think it's very therapeutic. So that's how I start my morning and how I draw a line, at night.
I love that. And you know what?
Last episode, I was drinking coffee.
Okay.
I say we drink coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought I'm like with healthy people here. No coffee, no caffeine.
No. Listen, I love my coffee. I always have a coffee first thing in the morning. Like Julietta just said, we both drink coffee first thing in the morning. And sometimes I'll have a second cup depending. I try to lean more towards tea after my first cup of coffee. But what's interesting is, I don't know, Julietta, you probably remember this, but our sponsor, Alicia, when we interviewed her on our podcast way back when, she was talking about why she kind of came up with this idea of like creating these beautiful mugs was exactly what you just said. Her time to sit and just enjoy her coffee was just such a nice time for her. And so she thought, why not make it out of a beautiful mug? So I love that. I think that's awesome.
Perfect.
All right. Are you ready for the next question, Jenny?
Yes.
All right. So the next question is, when you're having one of those days where it's just difficult to show up, you're just kind of having a bad day, what do you use? What tools do you pull out of your pocket to help you make it happen?
Yeah, so definitely, just taking care of yourself and understanding where this feeling is coming from. So stress, I usually feel it in my shoulders. So those are like my triggers. So I know that I'm stressed really. Then I ask myself, what is really going on here? Why am I stressed? And if just let's just say is to give this presentation to a big group of people, I'll ask myself, what's the purpose of me doing this? And I recently did several of such webinars during International Women's Day last month, and it was fun. I mean, I'm just giving that as an example. I wasn't stressed doing that. I really enjoy doing that, and I do that for free because it's something I'm very passionate about. But let's just say I was stressed about that. I would reconnect my purpose. Why am I doing that? It's not to show up and give myself free publicity and all that. It's really to empower women with this safe space to let them know that they're not alone in their struggles. And the conversations we had were amazing because one person would say something and then the other person said, hey, you sound like you're explaining my life when I climbed the corporate ladder. So it's like, I'm not saying misery loves company, but when you hear these things, you either feel that, oh, you are understood, or you learn from each other, how. And I love it, that they just got together and they supported each other and they came up with strategies, and all I need was to provide that space, get some conversation starting points, and people just went through it. So yes, the long answer to your question, one is to have a sense within my physical body where it's showing up, and then after that pause and really understand what is the reason behind this kind of negative emotions, not to push it away, but try to understand where is it coming from, and depending on what I'm doing, to reconnect with my intention of that particular thing that I need to do.
I love that. I love how you said the community. I think about that. I was just writing that down. I'm like, that's so awesome, because it is so important as women and as human beings that we find community when we need it, and that we get support from other people. Because the reality is a lot of people are going through, it's so incredible to me when Juliet and I do these interviews and we're talking with women and we get feedback from our audience saying, oh, I so like that person said that is exactly what I needed to hear. I've been there. I've been in that situation before, and just hearing someone else that's gone through it. So I feel like that community is so important. And I love that you brought that up. All right. Our next question is...
I feel that should be a drum roll when you do that.
Right? I do need a drum roll. You're
it's like
right.
It's a drum roll. Then next question.
Well, let's just our producer to add that into the
drum
audio.
roll. Yeah, we'll have to add that in afterwards.
Or maybe do that when it's coming to the last question.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, what is a life experience? Could be good, could be bad, that really has formed and made you who you are today?
I would say is moving abroad to do my law degree. So my parents live in Malaysia. So before because I'm married Singaporean, that's why I moved to Singapore. So when I was much younger, I'm a Malaysian, and my parents said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I was very determined. So they funded my education in the UK. And I was, let me see, when I went over, I was 18. So I guess nowadays people say, oh yeah, that's nothing, right? But my time to a Chinese girl, going all the way to the UK, not knowing anyone there. I got a place in the university, and I went there. And I think that was a life-changing period for me, because I was that young and I'm on my own, and I didn't have anyone to turn to. Of course, I made friends down the road, but when doing a law degree is really quite tough. So when times are difficult, I really felt that that's actually when my faith got really strong. You know how people are, right? Whether you're religious or not, when you're pushed to be with yourself and you got no one else to turn to, you need something. So you need, like, you believe that there's a higher power, and I really leveraged on my faith, and that's what got me through. And I realized from that experience is shaped who I am right now, to be determined, not to give up, and to be resourceful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Julietta, you have that similar experience.
Yeah, I know. I was like listening to it. I'm like, I don't.
Oh no, we're the same. It's amazing, right?
I didn't do college abroad, but I was an exchange student in Venezuela for a year. And
wow.
When we've asked these questions to each other on a show, Allison and I, and that's my answer too. That was my most life-changing experience. That really, what I learned on that adventure has greatly shaped who I am today. And you learn so much about the world, and you learn so much about yourself when you step outside of the place that you've called home. So
yes. And that's where I also met my husband. So I didn't meet my husband in Malaysia or Singapore. I met my husband at uni. So
nice.
That's another story altogether. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Jenny, to wrap things out, what would you say is one thing that you would want our audience to take away from our time together today?
Well, I know we talked about self-care and, really understanding who you are and appreciating and respecting yourself. So I would love it if your audience can really take a look at themselves, reflect about what's good, what's great, what's unique about themselves. Because I think women especially, we're very hard on ourselves. We can say, Julietta, you can tell Alison how wonderful she is. Alison, you can tell Julietta how wonderful she is. However, if I ask both of you to tell yourself how wonderful you are, you may find it a bit difficult. I mean, a lot of women whom I coach find it very difficult. It's like, no, I'm not successful. No, I'm not resilient. However, my mom's resilient, but I'm not resilient. So there's a lot of downplaying your strengths and downplaying your successes. And you are already successful simply by showing up as who you are. So I really want to encourage your listeners to really appreciate, who you truly are. And remember, define success to mean what it means to you. I mean, we are adults, but yet what you see on social media, we're thinking, oh, I'm not successful. So I have conversations with, women our age, or even older, to say that, I'm not as successful as her. My life is nowhere near what she is. So we end up comparing. So I want everyone to define success on their own terms.
Beautiful. I also always tell people, if you can see something in someone else, it's because it also exists in you. If it doesn't exist in you, you won't see it in anybody else. So when you're telling somebody how wonderful they are, recognize that you can see that in them because it exists in you. So,
wow, that's great. That deserves another drum roll.
You're muted again, Allison, just so you know.
It's the puppy factor. I'm trying to save you all from it.
We're masking the puppy. But I do want to say thank you, Jenny, for joining us. For you this evening, but for us this morning. It's been wonderful having you. You had a lot of great tips for our audience. I'm sure they're going to appreciate this episode. And huge thanks to Alicia for our amazing mugs and for sponsoring Voices of the Goddess this month. And also a huge thank you to our audience. We couldn't be here without you. And please, if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, subscribe, like, follow, share. We also would love some feedback. It's been amazing to me, the feedback I've gotten in person from people that are, sometimes I'm shocked to hear like, oh my goodness, you're listening to my podcast. That's fantastic. And people all the time are like, oh my God, that episode was so-and-so, what she had to say. I just really needed to hear that today. And so we know that these podcasts are making a difference for people. And so please share them with all of your friends so that they can get the benefit of the podcast as well. And if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, you can go to votgpodcast.com. And there is a request form you can fill out there to be a guest on our show. We would love to have you. And have I touched on everything? Perfect. All right then. So I will wish all of you a very magical day.